And you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz.
Hey everybody, I'm Rachel Goodman, and we're back, and we're ready to discuss Narcos Mexico Season 2, Episode 5, AFO. With me, I've got Liz, our Spanglish expert.
Hola, hello everybody.
And Rob, our filmmaker.
That's right. Hi guys, what's going on?
So, this was quite the episode. I mean, I feel like I've been saying this every episode that we come on and talk about, but this episode 5 in particular, guys, what were your overall thoughts?
So much happening in this one. Honestly, it was too much information all at once. Like, you're trying to figure out and puzzle, who certain people are, and you're like getting the pieces together. But in this one, I did like how the DEA agents, came across the tunnel that Chapo was building. So that was a pretty good win for them. I did not like, though, that they were still, going against each other, the cartels. That was too messy again. Yeah.
I was really digging the chaos. Chaos from the opening shot to the ending shot. Just chaos on all fronts. And I think the strong opening with the shooting, that set the tone for the rest of the show.
Yes.
And a really enjoyable episode. I know we always, like you said, we always say that this episode's amazing, but that's a good problem for us to have if we keep saying that the episodes are amazing, because this year we got some good stuff on Narcos Season 2.
Absolutely. So, speaking of that opening shot, be sure to stay tuned until the end, because we're going to talk about Ramon a little bit more, and we're going to talk about some fashion, as well as as well as our fashion. That needed to be said twice. So,
Yes, new fashion segment.
Yes. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Let's talk about Isabella and Enedina, because we know from last episode they had partnered up. This episode already, they're making plans and they're making things happen, and
Yes.
we know that they're going about this transportation of coke in a much different way, much more subtle way, by having other women take it into San Diego under the ruse of employment. What did you guys make of that?
I felt like it was no different from what goes on today, where certain people get like work visas to come work to the States, and they don't get paid like the full amount. What's kind of cool that like in this scene was that you see two women helping out more women out. So since they don't get paid, like I think they only get paid 20% of what they make. It was risky to have them involved, but I thought it was still pretty nice to have them given this opportunity to make more money and then make more now that they're going to smuggle cocaine. But also at the same time, I'm like fearful because it's like putting their lives in danger. So I'm just like, I don't know how left this could go. But I don't want to see, the poor woman get slaughtered.
And that's a lot, not only risk for them, but trust that Isabella and Enedina are taking on the people. I don't know what you have to do to vet somebody to know that they're not going to just take the coke and run. I mean, they probably wouldn't do that to you because they probably assume that you have people in high places that will come after you.
Yes.
But just the risk all around, I was like, okay, there's a lot of trust happening here for them to be able to do this.
I think because they're the big family in TJ, that's running all of the drugs. I mean, no one would think twice to cross them, in my opinion. But with the ladies, the way they were moving it in that fashion, I think it's also a play on like the whole thing with class, because you have these people, they're just workers coming in to do that, who never suspect them, and right under the nose. And I really think it's her plan was genius, and it's so genius it's almost like an evil, like a Bond villain kind of plan. And just to have these ladies do an illegal task and then actually pay them what they were supposed to be getting paid, actually more than what they were supposed to be getting paid. I think that's really cool. I really think that's a badass, I'm not a female, but that's a badass female moment, for me.
Yeah, and I'm really appreciating this partnership between Isabella and Enedina. I feel like of all the different partnerships we're seeing, they might be the only, group to survive this.
Right.
At least the only ones that aren't like going at each other's throats. Yeah. So it's like while the men are, causing chaos, the women are actually getting stuff done.
And that's the funny thing too, is that Benjamin just kind of assumed that, as this is all going on, he's not taking Enedina seriously. And so she is the brains of the operation, and no one even realizes it.
It seems like she's been the brains most of it from the beginning, because he more runs off of like his emotion, but she's not. She's emotionless, and she's like pragmatic in her approach. She had an idea. I mean, she had a goal, and what was the best way to do it? Whatever worked the easiest for her, and buying the company that leases out the workers to people. I think that was amazing, and no one's gonna bat an eye at that. I really think that's smooth.
So you had mentioned emotions, and I think that we should definitely talk about Felix and his emotions, because while we have Isabella and Enedina calmly and very rationally handling their business, Felix, not so much. So first of all, I want to just say up front that Felix and his storyline, he's making a lot of dumb mistakes. For him to, he's very power hungry. I get how he is, but for him to just go to Panama and assume, oh, I'm just gonna, screw over the Colombians, and Guerra's gonna be there, and we're gonna make a deal. I think that he had it coming to him. What do you think, Rob?
It kind of reminds me of, is that a Greek legend with Narcissus?
Yeah.
Yes, I think he's starting to turn into that. He's trapped in his own vanity. He's too big for himself, and he has like all these big ideas that are basically that benefit him in the long run, but he's throwing it under the guise of this is good for everyone, and this is what's best for everyone, and we can build an empire off of this. But it's sad. I see that it's based off of his own vanity, and I think that's going to destroy him in the end. He's spreading himself too thin with all these random ideas, to fix other mistakes he made.
Absolutely.
He's like gambling a lot, like at this point, and reshuffling the deck, trying to become more than the middleman. So I think what Felix is doing, it's genius, but at the same time, I just feel like there's a downfall for that.
And he's acting very irrationally at every moment. And this is not the first time. I think since we opened with season 2, he's been acting this way. And I just feel like that thread is wearing away as we see him kind of progress. And one of the things is that he makes this very rash decision that he needs to stay in the game by now contributing 65,000 kilos of cocaine. And we even see Pacho saying, are you sure that you're going to be able to handle this? And it's like you had said the last episode, the machismo of
machismo.
Yeah.
That's what it is too. Like he has too much pride to feel like he's just a middleman. Like he wants to be more than that. He wants to set the tone. He wants to set the bar. It's like, we get it, Felix. You're really good at your job, but at this point, he's got no loyalty like around him, and it's just associates, and you're gonna see everything just deteriorate. But I did think also how he did the business in Panama, and how he got Amato to get on his side. I felt like that was a little weird, because Amato, like he has no emotion, I feel. And, with Felix killing his uncle, like, you would think, like, oh, I'm not going to, still be businessman with Felix. But he still is, and I guess still stays loyal to Felix.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I feel bad for Amata, just because I feel like he is trying to handle things much more rationally. And I can see in his eyes that he doesn't agree with many things Felix is doing at this point. But he's stuck, too, because he really can't say how he really feels. And so, he's the one who gets stuck, who ultimately will have to be the one to transport this amount of coke.
70 tons.
I'm questioning the end game for him, though, because the way that he interacts with Felix, and then also I'm blanking on his name.
Pablo.
Pablo, yes. The way that he interacts with those two, I don't know whether it's from a sense of sincerity, a standpoint of sincerity, or is it from a standpoint of like opportunist. So I don't know. I'm watching him really closely because the way he interacts with both of them are night and day.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering where it's going to go in the end.
I think he's a little bit of both, and I think that like I notice with him in everything, whether that's with Felix or in his business with Acosta too. He usually just kind of hangs back and like he will speak, but only when he really has something to say.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm with you in that. I think that there's more to what he's planning than what he's going to tell us or tell anyone in the circle right now. And I think he's going to be okay, but I just I don't think that he would put himself in that place where he was going to be the one to get busted if he didn't have a backup plan.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he will come out of this all right. But one of the biggest scenes is that we see after Felix finds out about Guerra, he gives him a lovely phone call, and we see Felix lose his. Yeah.
He insults him in such a funny way. He calls him like a pig, and how he's gonna like have him cooked in front of everybody at like those parties he has. I was like, oh my gosh, he's so mean.
And that would be obviously we're reading the translation of this. Yeah. Was there anything that we might not have heard from that? Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah. Just because he has such a Guadalajaran, I guess, accent. He sounds funnier when he's saying all this. Like now you see the true Felix, like as he's just going off, he's just like just saying a bunch of profanity, and it's like it's pretty funny because it's like, okay, now he knows, the true Don Juan, and Don Juan really did screw him, not gonna lie.
And he's like, Don Juan Guerra is over there like the cool cat that he is, just smoking a cigar. Like, I was never gonna join you. We never had an actual agreement. And honestly, even if they had, I feel like Guerra would have broken it anyway.
He was the way he went about it was like in such an old grandpa way, Felix is going crazy on the phone, yelling and cursing, and he's just sitting back, just relaxed, letting him go on and just says a couple of words and just goes and about his normal day, moving around doing things while Felix is going crazy. And from the filmmaking standpoint, I like how you see a contrast of like Felix and his tight, angry, world going crazy. And you look to Don Juan, he's in this wide open space, just relaxed, kick back, while he's going crazy. And I like that. I
also caught how, like, Felix is by himself, throwing this tantrum on the phone while Don Juan's, like, with all his, like, friends and family members. And they're just, like, I think they were just eating ice cream or something. And it's just, like, you could tell that he has more loyalty in his side, and he's an old timer, so he knows the game. It's almost like, let me teach him something.
And they're in the background laughing at everything he says, and like laughing in the background. It's kind of like the equivalent of, I don't know if you ever got into your argument with somebody and your friends is back there, like, tell him this.
Yeah.
And you tell him, you're like, in the background. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, they just obviously do not respect Felix at all because he's acting like a little kid at the end of the day. Like I feel like it's this, you had mentioned like an old grandfatherly figure versus like a 5-year-old kid who's having a tantrum. And it's like, okay, that there was no way that Felix was ever going to be this powerhouse for a long time anyway, just because he doesn't have the fortitude of somebody like Guerra to hold that position if he's gonna lose, like just the way that he's handling this situation between the Felix family and the Sinaloans. That is such an indicator that Felix is not a guy who's going to be able to have any kind of empire and sustain it for a very long amount of time. But speaking of everything going on with the Felix family and the Sinaloans, the next part of this episode, and kind of the last that we really focused on, was with Breslin, and he, in a really interesting moment that was kind of like, oh, is he going to find out or isn't he? He finds the tunnel that El Chapo built.
Oh, the warehouse, yes. That was crazy.
Because of the fan.
Yes, and how they're also with the Sinaloan cartel, that's alone. The TJ cartel is also trying to, see what they're up to. So I thought that was kind of funny how they're both trying to, like, figure out what's going on in this warehouse. But it's funny, too, how they finally get, like, the air and vent system going on, and then that gave their, cover up.
Right.
Yeah, but...
I was questioning how... Nobody in all of Mexico saw a bunch of gringos running around, climbing into a warehouse looking. I mean, one of these things is not like the other. Like, what are you guys doing here? Yeah. Nobody saw anything. I was thinking of it, like, what happened?
I think the thing is, like, just don't snitch, in the streets. Like,
yeah,
since
maybe.
you can get killed now for anything. But I mean, I don't know how long, that will last with people just not speaking up, because at some point, you said there's gringos walking around, and they don't do everything so, like, secretly. Like, you just see them walking around. I don't know, that's weird.
Yeah, they just climbed the gate, no problem, and, like, nobody saw that.
And none of the workers, too, because we saw later on at night, they were coming in and out of the tunnel.
Right.
Where else would they have been coming in from? I mean, we saw another little, area where they were, going in and out, but...
It looks so small.
And you would think they'd still be in the warehouse more. So I was surprised they did not find Breslin or anyone. That was my first concern. Two, there was an actual tunnel. Like, we talked about this the last episode.
Oh, yeah.
But it didn't come until 89. And so I think that this whole circumstance is a little bit fictional. But from what we do see, it's Breslin did find the tunnel, and... Calderoni decided with him that they weren't going to actually go in and seize anything. They were just going to turn it over, in, like, kind of, a house divided sort of situation, and drop a hint to the Felix brothers that this was happening. And that definitely sent a message.
Yeah.
What did you guys make of Ramon?
Ramon, I know in earlier episodes we talked about wild cards, but, like, Ramon is, like, the real one. I didn't expect all of that killing. I didn't expect that in a cement truck, and I didn't expect all that.
He went hard this episode. Like, he was just, like, even at the beginning, how you could just see him just shooting the fish, kind of just pretty much asserting that he can also be the guy with the guns. He's not just, like, a Benjamin's brother, like, in the shadow. If anything, I feel like both Enedina and Ramon kind of hide behind Benjamin, and now you get to see them shine. Like, you get to see, like, that Ramon actually does do things more than, like, you would averagely see.
Yeah. And I just appreciated that we are getting to see this. I thought the look on Ramon's face when he showed up, I knew they were all dead. I knew El Chapo was dead if he caught him. It was very, I felt bad for El Chapo, actually.
Yeah.
This is his hard work.
They worked so hard underneath that tunnel.
Yeah. He'll just have to build one in 2015 from jail.
So actually, he got success out of that one, that idea.
He escaped then. But and we were talking on last episode about the real El Chapo building an actual tunnel from jail and getting out. So that's where we're coming from right now with this. But so I think that when they set up the beginning of the episode, though, where we see Ramon driving, and this is, obviously before anything happened, we see him driving, and he just, like, hooks a fish to rope and starts blasting away.
In a park. Children and families.
So we were talking about it right before the episode, how we were like, okay, so what do you think of that scene? Like, how he's just being reckless. Like, what did you take from that scene?
I think this goes back to the crack again. Remember when he smoked crack earlier? And I was like, okay, there was something that changed in Ramon once that first hit of crack.
I think that's what it was.
And from there, I mean, like, I don't know, the way that he did that was, like, it seemed like something out of, like, a cartoon in his mind, like, from looking from the way he did it. It's like, I don't know, something you'd see in, like, Looney Tunes back in the day, which is shooting in a park like that with people. Like, when would that ever be acceptable? And when would, why would you do anything like that?
And it starts so innocently too.
Yeah.
With him listening to his Walkman. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I don't think it might be called a Walkman back then, but it was like a.
So.
It played cassettes. So I think a Walkman. But it started so innocently, and then all of a sudden he's got the guns and he's shooting fish, and everyone's screaming. But I think this is a great time for us to move on to our first segment since we're talking about Ramon. Before we do, did you guys have any last comments about the episode?
I feel like the one part that did stand out to me too, we were talking about the pig last time on the first episode or second episode, I believe, when they kill the pig and in Coach Loco, there's a part, I don't know if you guys caught it, but he was talking about like, he was telling Benjamin and the Felix brothers that, you should have just saved that pig for carnitas. And I was like, I knew they wanted to kill it for food. But it was funny how he was also just calling them just bad names and whatnot. So I was like, okay, he finally stood up for himself, because Coach Loco, he's just like a jokester. So I really like to see that like humorous part of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one more thing for me, as far as with the fan and the whole warehouse thing, there was a couple times where the camera stayed on that fan. And I remember watching, I was like, why are we staying with that fan? And then we cut back to different characters and stuff. And then in the end, when the single event that caused them to figure out someone's in there is the fan spinning. And they cut right back to that shot with the fan again. And this time it's spinning. And then it's like, okay, we know, the audience has more information than these guys, but just the joy of seeing all of that connect together and those guys figure that out, I think that's like really good filmmaking.
Yeah. And there was a lot of tension. They really, with a shot like that, you're just, that it's almost like bringing the gun into the scene. There's going to be something, that like an indicator, or just there's a reason why they kept showing it even before it turned on.
Yeah, Chekhov's gun.
Yeah.
Can't put a gun up there unless you shoot somebody with
Absolutely.
it, or I don't know, something happens with it.
Absolutely. So the only thing I wanted to mention before we move on is just that at the end of the episode, Felix does return home, and he learns 3 things. The next president is a supporter of Guerra. Then he learns about the tunnel in Tijuana, which, I guess is going to prompt him to maybe negotiate some kind of peace between the two families. But then the last thing is that, he doesn't so much learn this as it happens, but someone tries to kill him. And so that really, the way that they told that story at the end and just like dropped it on us, and kind of, it was a combination of the exposition with the other character literally telling Felix these things, and then actually seeing an attack on his life. We just know that everything is just unraveling for him now.
Yeah. When that ended with the shootout, I was like, did he die, or is he going to die?
Yeah.
So I wonder what's going to happen with Felix on that one.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so let's get to our fashion segment.
Yes. So we've got actor Manuel Masalva. So he does play Ramon in Narcos, and he has really great fashion. I don't know if you guys caught on to it. His flashy shirts, kind of like Versace style. But I was really just interested in seeing all the cool shirts he has. So I go online, and then I see he has this one, and there's like another one here, his whole family. This one also with Benjamin and Enedina. It's kind of cool that all of them actually have a great fashion sense. But yeah, so out of all these shirts, I was just wondering which one or which outfit do you guys like the best?
On Ramon
On
only?
Ramon, yes.
Because I was going to say Enedina in that one shot where she was wearing like a double piece, not suit, but like it was like a pant and blouse. Yeah. If you guys are listening and not watching, she's in like a gray, jumper. So I would say her. Otherwise, I think I would also say Ramon's, the shirt that he's wearing on the left in the same picture, which for all of you listening and not watching, it looks very, I would say 70s.
Yeah. He has like, I don't know, like paisley somehow, like patterned tiger, cheetah, all this like prints, but it's pretty cool because it kind of does highlight how Mexican fashion was back in the day. And I remember my dad at least owned one of these shirts, I'm not gonna lie.
And that seems like the whole Playboy style, you know. You're a Playboy, you got all the guns, the drugs, the money, the women, all that stuff. But also Benjamin, he looked like he was wearing like a Coogi sweater. It looked like a really old school Coogi sweater.
Coogi, yeah, so they were definitely stylish brothers.
Yeah. Very timely too. Like that's the one thing I do absolutely love about the show. Not only is the set completely like it just brings you to that time. Every character is dressed exactly.
That was actually my favorite. Not gonna lie.
Oh, he's wearing. I don't even know what that is.
Don't know the name of it, but it is for those hearing. We are watching Ramon with a green shirt and blue pattern, just crazy design shirt, but it's
looks like
really
Versace
nice.
Before the Versace.
Versace probably. I feel like some of these might be Versace. And there you have his Instagram as well, Masalva.
Awesome.
So that's the real him.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing all of that.
Thanks.
I think that it's that time where we've come to the end of our episode. But Rob, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Rob Steelo. That's STEELO.
And me at California on Instagram.
And you can find me on Twitter at Rach Goodman or on my author Instagram account at Rachel Radner Author. We will be back shortly for another episode of Narcos Mexico Season 2. So we'll see you then. Bye, everybody.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.